Okay, I'm going to try something a little bit new. Well, not exactly new, but not contemporary, let's say. I'm going to make a series of videos basically talking about each of the 53 British Prime Ministers, from Walpole right up to Cameron. I'm not sure if I'll include Cameron actually, as he is the sitting PM. The reason I want to do this is I saw a video that Disney made, the Disney Channel, sort of chronicling a number of US presidents, and I like the sort of light-hearted, fun way that was done. Now, I can't do the same thing, I can't make animation and that sort of thing, but I do think in this country we hugely overlook our early prime ministers. I mean, Walpole may be reasonably well known, but certainly some of the others are absolutely unknown figures. In some cases that's understandable because their administrations were relatively uneventful, but I do think it's an important part of our history, and I think that it's something that needs to be a little bit more documented, I think. Now, it is true we're not a republic, so there isn't the same focus as there would be perhaps in a presidential system. That is a very important factor. Another thing I'd like to say is that it's very important to understand that the term Prime Minister in the United Kingdom is something that really developed by accident. This was not a formal office initially set up in the way that President of the United States or other countries was. For example, in the case of George Washington, he was absolutely the first president, and it was a new country, a new republic, and so on. In the case of prime ministers, there's debate about even when Walpole began his administration, and I'll go on to him in a bit, but this is like an introduction video. So what I'm going to do with each prime minister is talk a little bit about their record, about some personal details, where they were born, the lifespan, all that sort of thing. I don't intend them to be very comprehensive. What I'm going to do is try and include key information. No doubt I'll leave out some things in all of them. It's simply not possible to put everything, but I'm going to try and put key information, just speak a little bit about them. If anyone has any questions on any specific Prime Minister, I'll be happy to do some research on that. The source I'm using is directly from Number 10 Downing Street website. But I think it is important to think about history, and I would love to see something similar as the Disney Channel here, something done in a light-hearted manner for prime ministers. But you know, I saw something recently, Earl Grey tea. I looked at the cover, it wasn't even Earl Grey. I mean the person, the Earl Grey. So that just reminded me of how much we actually abandon, let's say, education in terms of our early PMs. You can find it on Wikipedia, you can find it in history books, but there isn't really the same thing in the public psyche the way there would be with our American cousins in terms of their early presidents. Really, in the United Kingdom, we only start thinking of our prime ministers maybe from Gladstone and Disraeli onwards, and even then not very much. Now, I know not everyone's interested in history, but I'm talking about generally there just seems to be a lack of real awareness of our prime ministers. I mean, if you were asked a British person who was the PM who lost America during the Revolutionary War, the answer is Lord North, but I suspect most people wouldn't know that. Yet he was prime minister for 12 years, so it's things like that I think need to be a little bit more promoted, perhaps. Just what I'm talking about is general knowledge. Even the resting place of prime ministers tend to be very low-key, very, you know, there's nothing to say a prime minister of the United Kingdom is buried here. Just, yeah, that's that. So it's a little bit unfortunate, I find. What I want to do is make the videos absolutely neutral. I don't intend to take any party political position on any of them. I'm speaking as I'm taking the perspective as an outsider. Personally, my politics are centrist, centre-left, but we have to remember each of these PMs were working in the context of their own time as well. That's an important factor to take on board. What else is there to say before I begin? Not really much. I don't have any pictures, unfortunately. It's just going to be talking, so apologies for that. At a later date, maybe when I've got the technology to talk and do that at the same time, I'll be happy to do that. Do check out my slideshows of the Prime Ministers. I've divided them into 3 parts. But like I said, it's a term that really developed by accident. And in fact, initially it was almost an insult. You are the Prime Minister, sort of thing. The technical term actually was First Lord of the Treasury, still is, but it's only really in the 20th century the term became formalised, I believe under Henry Campbell Bannerman, around 100 years ago, just over 100 years ago. So, without much further ado, stay tuned for my next video, which will be about the first Prime Minister, Sir Robert Walpole.